Imagine being told that everything you've ever believed was incomplete, missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. What if that missing piece had been deliberately buried, hidden from you for centuries? That's exactly what happened with the secret teachings of Mary Magdalene. These teachings were so revolutionary, so threatening, that they were banned, suppressed, and almost erased from history. Mary Magdalene wasn't just a background figure in the story of Jesus. These suppressed texts portray her as his most significant disciple, one whose role even surpasses Peter, John, and the others. She was more than a follower. She was central to his teachings. But this prominence posed a problem for the Church, which aimed to establish a system where men held all the power. Recognizing a woman, especially one Jesus might have chosen as his spiritual successor, would have disrupted the patriarchal structure they were building. These teachings emerged in the 1st century AD during a time of spiritual upheaval. In various accounts, Mary Magdalene is described as the first to witness Jesus' resurrection, a pivotal event often seen as a metaphor for ultimate spiritual enlightenment. Her significance is further underscored in secret texts like the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, a Gnostic scripture rediscovered in 1945 near Nag Hammadi, Egypt. These texts challenge the material world as we know it, suggesting it's not the ultimate reality but an illusion, a veil obscuring the deeper truths of existence. Picture life as a shadow puppet show, where the shadows on the wall seem real but are merely projections. The teachings of Mary Magdalene liken our everyday experience to such shadows. What we perceive, our bodies, the earth, even time, are distractions from a profound spiritual reality that lies beneath. According to the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the true world is one of mind and spirit, hidden beneath the surface of physical existence. This idea directly opposed the Church's doctrine, which held that the material world, created by God, was sacred and meant to be governed. Gnosticism, on the other hand, viewed the material world as a trap, a barrier keeping us from realizing our divine essence. Central to these teachings is the notion that reality is rooted in mind, not matter. This means that consciousness, thought, and awareness are the foundation of existence. Everything we see and interact with, trees, buildings, even our own bodies, originates from the mind. The Gnostics believed that understanding this truth was key to unlocking spiritual freedom and transcending the illusions of the physical world. Once we grasp that the material world is fleeting and illusory, we can begin to uncover our true nature and divine connection. In the Gospel of Mary, the disciples ask Jesus about the nature of matter. He explains that all things exist within one another and ultimately return to their spiritual origins. This highlights the interconnectedness of everything and the transient nature of the physical world, which eventually dissolves back into the mind, the ultimate source of creation. This idea, that the material world is an illusion, was profoundly dangerous to the early Church. It undermined the very foundation of their teachings. The Church's authority was deeply tied to its control over people's physical lives, dictating how they should behave, what they should value, and whom they should obey. If the material world were merely a shadow of reality, then the Church's rules governing it would lose their significance. If reality is more about the mind and spirit, then individuals have the power to seek enlightenment on their own, without relying on the Church as a mediator. This radical perspective led to the suppression of Gnostic texts. The Church could not risk losing its control over how people understood their existence and their path to salvation. One profound lesson from these teachings is the idea that our physical lives are only a fragment of the larger story. To live fully, we must go beyond the visible and tangible, exploring the spiritual dimensions that underlie reality. In today's world, this might mean looking beyond materialism, valuing deeper connections, understanding our consciousness, and recognizing that our worth isn't tied to external possessions or societal status. When Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire in the 4th century, it was shaped into a tool for maintaining social order and control. With this alignment came the need for a unified doctrine, a single, correct version of Christianity. This orthodoxy, determined by councils and church leaders, decided which scriptures would be included in the Bible and which would be discarded. Gnostic ideas, with their focus on personal enlightenment and inner truth, were deemed heretical. Orthodox Christianity emphasized sin and salvation through church rituals like baptism and confession. The church positioned itself as the gatekeeper to spiritual freedom, requiring obedience and adherence to its rules. In contrast, Gnosticism saw sin not as a moral failing, but as ignorance, an inability to perceive the true nature of reality. Enlightenment and self-awareness, not external rituals, were the keys to spiritual liberation. This divergence was a direct challenge to the Church's authority. If spiritual enlightenment came from within rather than through institutionalized rituals, the Church's control over individuals would crumble. It's no wonder the Church worked so hard to suppress these ideas. Another reason Mary Magdalene's teachings were suppressed was her role as a female spiritual leader. As the Church became more patriarchal, women were relegated to subordinate positions. Scriptures were edited to reinforce this hierarchy, as seen in passages like 1 Timothy 2:12. I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet. This male-dominated perspective stands in stark contrast to the teachings attributed to Mary Magdalene, whose role in the early Christian narrative is both profound and revolutionary. Far from being a passive follower or a peripheral figure, Mary Magdalene is portrayed in her gospel as a central teacher and leader. She holds a position of unique authority and spiritual insight that even the male disciples acknowledge. In one notable account, the disciples themselves turned to Mary, asking her to share the wisdom that Jesus entrusted to her alone, a testament to her pivotal role in understanding and disseminating his teachings. This explicit acknowledgement of her authority was not just unconventional. It directly challenged the patriarchal structure that the Church was building. The Church's efforts to suppress female leadership, therefore, extended far beyond Mary Magdalene herself. Her recognition as a spiritual leader posed a dangerous precedent. If Mary were openly celebrated as a figure of power and wisdom, it could have opened the door for other women to rise into similar positions within the Church's hierarchy. Such an acknowledgement threatened the foundation of a system designed to centralize authority in the hands of men. The suppression of Mary Magdalene's teachings and influence was not merely an act of erasure. It was a calculated effort to cement male dominance in the spiritual and institutional realms. At the core of Mary Magdalene's teachings lies a profound truth, that true knowledge and spiritual enlightenment come from within. Jesus himself emphasized this principle, teaching that the kingdom of heaven is not found in external rituals or institutions, but is a reality that exists within each individual. Mary's gospel expands on this idea, presenting the inner journey as the first and most critical step toward transformation. Transformation, in the context of Mary Magdalene's teachings, is not about conforming to external rules or societal expectations. It is a deeply personal process of uncovering the divine spark within us all, a process that defies institutional control. Ascension, as described in Mary's gospel, is not a physical departure to a higher realm, but an elevation of consciousness. It is the movement from ignorance to enlightenment, from being bound by illusions to recognizing and embracing the ultimate truths of existence. In her teachings, Mary Magdalene speaks of spiritual awareness as a progressive journey with multiple levels, each revealing deeper and more profound aspects of reality. This journey is known as gnosis, a term that signifies spiritual knowledge and awakening. Gnosis involves peeling away the layers of illusion that the material world places before us, revealing the divine essence that lies beneath. Each stage of this journey brings us closer to our true nature, reconnecting us with the divine source. The Gospel of Mary underscores the idea that the physical body and its desires, while not inherently evil, act as distractions from higher understanding. These desires anchor us to the material world, which, in Gnostic thought, functions as a kind of prison. This prison confines us through our senses, trapping us in the illusions of physical reality. Yet Mary's teachings offer hope and a way forward. Through self-awareness and spiritual awakening, we can transcend these limitations, not by rejecting the physical world entirely, but by understanding its transient and illusory nature. The concept of ascension in Mary Magdalene's teachings is ultimately about empowerment. It encourages us to recognize and embrace our inherent ability to rise above the constraints imposed by the material world and connect with divine wisdom. At the heart of this process is self-knowledge, which Mary's Gospel identifies as the gateway to spiritual liberation. By turning inward and exploring the depths of our own consciousness, we can access the truths that lead to enlightenment and freedom. What makes Mary Magdalene's teachings so radical is their inclusivity. They emphasize that the journey toward transformation and ascension is available to everyone, regardless of gender, social status, or life circumstances. Her role as a leader and her deep insights into the nature of reality challenged the societal norms of her time and continue to inspire us today. Mary's Gospel is a powerful reminder that the path to spiritual growth is not dictated by external authorities, but is a deeply personal and individual journey. Her teachings remain profoundly relevant in the modern world. In an era where material success, external validation, and rigid societal structures often take precedence, Mary's message serves as a beacon of hope and empowerment. She reminds us that true power and fulfillment come not from the outside world, but from within. Spiritual growth is not something that can be handed down or prescribed by institutions. It is a journey that each of us must undertake for ourselves, guided by our inner truth and connection to the divine. Mary's Gospel challenges us to question the established norms and seek out our own understanding of spiritual reality. Her voice, once silenced by centuries of suppression, has begun to resonate again, offering a path to transcend the superficial narratives that dominate our lives. Her teachings encourage us to look beyond appearances, question the illusions of the material world, and embrace the transformative power of self-knowledge and spiritual awakening. This journey of transformation and ascension is not just Mary Magdalene's, it is ours to undertake as well. Her story, her teachings, and her example serve as a timeless reminder of the power within each of us to rise above limitations, connect with our divine essence, and achieve true enlightenment. Thank you for taking this journey with us. If you found this inspiring, please consider joining our community by subscribing to this channel. Let's continue exploring these profound truths together. Until next time.